Step forward if you agree with the prompt. If you're a woman, you should be a feminist.
I think the concept of anti-feminism is like counterintuitive as a woman. Like everyone should want equality of the sexes, you know? Everyone should want to have the same education level, the same all these things in a position and still make as much as a person who identifies as male.
In this society, we have to be feminists as women because there's certain things going on where our rights are being stripped away, and Black women, Black trans women are more likely to be murdered and attacked, and that's absolutely a feminist issue, and that's something that everyone should care about.
Everyone of any gender expression, men included, should be feminists.
I think there are different brands of feminism, if you will,
yeah.
That's a good point, Bob's Burgers. Very good point. And the reason why I say that's a good point is because, believe it or not, your boy Sigs and Cereal is actually a feminist. It's just this new age of feminism I don't agree with. Because let's be honest, what's going on right now is females are getting strong-armed out of feminism, I should say. They're just getting bullied right out of it. I'm cool with equality. I feel like a woman should be able to do anything that a man should be able to do. And honestly, I feel like we've achieved that. We have a female vice president. It just shocks me when I see like these new age feminists who claim that they're oppressed, and when you ask them how they're oppressed, they can't give you an answer. That's essentially all I'm saying.
don't represent what I think all of us here feel is the true ideal of what feminism
Absolutely.
is.
And I don't think that everyone has to be active as a feminist in the exact same way. Like, not everybody can march, not everybody can protest, not everybody can really be an advocate for feminism.
At the end of the day, it's taking a look at patriarchal systems and seeing the flaws in those systems and how they negatively impact everyone.
I pause.
Somebody needs to ask her what the patriarchy is. Because I promise you, they'll make statements like this and they won't even know what the patriarchy is. This is like bot 101 NPC training level 1 questions. Like, this is just such a bot answer. It's such a bot reply. We've heard this so many times. When you looked at her, you knew this is exactly something that she would say. I mean, you can't make it up. She even has like the little hipster turtleneck, the Lara Croft Tomb Raider over jacket. I mean, she does look empowered though. You got to give her that.
On that thought, can the disagreeers step forward?
Define woman. Go, please. One of you.
A person
Damn.
who
Is somebody watch Matt Walsh?
their internal idea of what they are
She just said
a
no.
woman.
Terrible definition. Coming from
No.
a lesbian, that destroys the very concept of our sexual orientation. Just saying that it's an idea.
why?
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 Because you can't be connected and sexually attracted to somebody's brain.
Let's make to the prompt. If you're a woman, you should be a feminist. Why do y'all disagree
Oh, okay,
with
okay,
that?
okay.
I completely disagree. You know, exactly 2 years ago, if I had done this, I probably would be a feminist. But then I started to look at, and I think the agreeers actually mentioned is, like, what do Black women gain from feminism? Because I remember even during Black Lives Matter, when I led 2 protests for Black women, and I counted how many white women I saw there, and the ones who were there who were just there to take pictures for social media, and then the Black men also hiding behind us. Everyone, the whole world hides behind.
Okay, and as a Black man, I gotta stop her right here. This is, if anything, this is an effect of feminism, and I can speak about this because this has really kind of affected the Black community. I'm just gonna touch on it briefly. You'll see a lot of women who make these claims like, oh, the Black men hide behind Black women. That's only because they've been taught that they're girl bosses, queens, goddesses. They've been deified, so they believe this mumbo jumbo, and that's why when you look at like the whole of the Black family and you see 1 out of 4 Black women getting married, 80% having kids out of wedlock. I'm not going to make a whole video about it. It's a whole topic within itself, but this in itself is a byproduct of feminism. It's crazy that she's saying that she's anti-feminist. She has to have some type of feminist roots to be saying some nonsense like this.
Black woman, enough.
Same thing that's happening. Look what's happening in Iran. People on the feminist side right now are not speaking up for those Iranian women. I have a friend that is trans woman living in Iran right now. It's miserable. Nobody stands up for that poor girl.
As a woman, I particularly think I'm a humanist. For example, 2 years ago, I was a virgin feminist, and I made a decision to pivot my platform, teach Black women how to sit.
And you see, that's your boy Sigs knows how to call it, right? I knew she had some type of feminist in her roots, because that's a feminist talking point in the community. But
in our feminine energy, because we've never experienced that.
Well, that just sounds like Black feminism to me, teaching women how to do that in the time that we are in now.
But we're not learning fast enough. We deserve to rest, we deserve to relax, we deserve to choose if we want to be a traditional wife. I went from law to being a CEO to now I just want to be a housewife. And every time I say that, I get so much hate. Like, women work so hard to get to this.
How many times have you guys heard this, though? We're starting to hear this more and more, and you see these women on TikTok all the time who've had the nice job, who are making all this money, who are even some cases you hear that they were, you know, CEOs or whatever, but they traded all in because they want to be a housewife. And a lot of times the sad thing is it's after they hit the wall and it's too late. Nobody sees them of value, so they end up alone.
Point. Why do you want to be a housewife?
Because that's what you want.
Choice.
That's what you want.
That's
the
choice.
Feminism is all about choice.
Exactly. Why can't I choose? That's the whole point of feminism. It's like, why can't I choose? What are you missing in America to claim that you are oppressed as a woman?
Well, we just had our rights to our own uteruses stripped away.
The right to murder.
Oh my God.
I mean,
It's not a baby, it's a clump of cells.
I mean, we all are clump of cells right here.
I think everybody's going to agree and disagree.
Yeah,
on
that's
that,
a whole.
but I don't know if that's another topic. That's another topic.
I had a very, very hard time not stepping up to that prompt, because my whole life I did consider myself a feminist. Seeing how this modern wave of feminism has now turned into something very different than equal rights. We all want equal, of course, we want equal rights. We want equality as women, of course.
But how can you have equal rights when you can't define the word woman on the far left?
Exactly. And it's funny because what you're seeing, this is just the melting point, because even the women are fed up with this nonsense.
Discussions about whether or not a trans woman is a woman, but I actually want to go back to how we feel that our ideal of feminism is probably not the way that you four think of feminism. I'm willing to bet.
I agree with that.
Okay, and this is where the whole movement fell apart, when it became all about feelings. Words have definitions. I can't just make up new definitions for words. And that's why the support that you guys want from everyone else, that's why you guys are seeing not a lot of support, because we don't understand what you're talking about. We're hearing all these new ideas, all these new spectrums, all these new things, but words are being redefined on the fly while you guys are proposing these new ideas. And then when we sit here and try to talk about it, you tell us that we're uneducated.
I think that's why people like me stepped away from that. Not because we're not women empowered or believe in women empowerment.
It's because we are women empowered.
It's because we believe women empowerment means something different than what you guys believe in.
And what I've seen now, Pause there. We're going to reset. Next prompt. There's no wrong reason to get an abortion.
You are making a health decision between you and a medical professional that is the right decision for you, your body, your future. It is always the right decision.
I would never stand between.
They always argue that point, but I don't think anyone really disagrees with that point. If your life is at risk, which is highly unlikely with the technology that we have nowadays, I doubt that people would be like, nope, you're going to have this kid and die. You know, it just doesn't work like that.
Between anyone with a uterus from making a decision about their body.
No, yeah, they're like, you can do it. You can have this health. You can have this health care if you are a victim of incest or a victim of rape. It's like you should be able to have access to that. What if you want it? You know, it's about
like, because what if you go and you get raw dogged and you don't want to use contraceptive? You know, it's hot, girl. You know, we out on vacation and we're a girls trip. We drink some Casamigos and we go back to the crib and I want to get raw dogged. I should be able to go and get an abortion a month from now. Yeah.
It's the same as going into the doctor and getting a routine check. If there's something for you.
It's the same as going into the doctor and getting a routine check. Yeah. It's the same. You just walk up in there, you know, put your legs up and, you know, get the baby cut up and pulled out and Bingo.
Your body that you think will, you know, not just benefit you, but help you live and also help you sustain an actual good life for your child, then that's what you need to do.
And financial is a huge thing too.
It is a huge thing.
It's an extremely huge financial responsibility to have a kid, and some
That's why we wrap it up around here. Amen. All the young people watch it, make sure that you wrap it up. And I mean, even if you're old, you know, wrap it up. You dig? I mean, you just wrap it up. No matter, when in doubt, wrap thy meat. You know, it doesn't rhyme, but shit, just do it.
people just don't have that means.
I agree and disagree. I'm definitely pro-choice. I'm probably the only anti-feminist that's pro-choice.
Being pro-choice, pro-abortion is actually very common. It's like 78% of Americans.
Okay, so yeah.
There's actually many people who are in your category.
To me, it makes sense.
There's actually many people who enjoy getting raw dogged. You are not alone. I'm gonna
circumstances.
get
I don't
canceled.
think people should be using abortion as a form of birth control. I think, to me, abortion's, believe it or not even the issue we need to be talking about right now. I feel like we need to be talking about how to properly educate people, no matter what their status is, no matter what their sexual orientation, whatever. And we need to go from there.
Well, I think I have a very interesting perspective on this because my mother opened the first Planned Parenthood in our state, and she is very pro-abortion outwardly, but inwardly in our home, we weren't allowed to do it. And so growing up at that dichotomy really, I think, messed me up a lot because I was like, okay, which one is the truth?
There are wrong reasons to get an abortion. A wrong reason to get an abortion is if you are going through your pregnancy and all of a sudden you change your mind. If you are irresponsible and
getting raw dogged,
all of a sudden finding yourself scared of motherhood.
When people say that women are getting abortions because they just don't want to be pregnant anymore, they're not actually understanding the way that an abortion works. Most of the time they're talking about late-term abortions, and what a lot of people don't realize is when you have that kind of abortion, you have to give birth to the fetus. There's no going back. You're literally giving birth to a body. It's never just a, whoop, I don't feel like being pregnant anymore. Guess these last 8 months I just wasted everything. No, no one's doing.
Never do that voice
Raising
again.
children is the most blessed gift. And I speak as someone who, when I found out that I was expecting for the first time, I kid you not, I was terrified.
But you were prepared.
No. I was not necessarily prepared. I was not prepared. And I was very much caught off guard. And I was terrified because I had an incredible career happening for me on the upswing.
Finances.
Let me finish.
Yeah, let her speak.
I had such a dramatic, fearful reaction to becoming a mother because of what our society has been telling me throughout my adolescence and my early 20s, is that once you become a mother, it's all over and it ends. And that is a very, very deeply rooted problem in our society that I do think we need to address.
That sentiment is the patriarchy in action.
Oh my God.
What is the patriarchy?
What a bot. And I love that they're asking her this because we're going to really see. I bet you she's not going to be able to answer it, but that is just her answer to everything. Like she just passed her bot exam and she's out here, completing her dreams of becoming the best NPC to ever do it.
Patriarchy.
What isn't the patriarchy? I feel like that's the better question.
It's a systemic ideal that favors masculinity, men,
Male power, male dominance.
the traditional idea of what a man is.
The patriarchy,
If I'm correct, the patriarchy is a system where the men hold the power and the women do not. I'm pretty sure it's that simple. Okay, so we look and we see the patriarchy is a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. Let's see if any of them say that.
is a system that oppresses not just women, but everyone.
It's not patriarchy because the people who scared me so much were the women mom bloggers.
Just because it's coming from a woman.
Coming from women does not mean
But
that
these
it's
were
not
the
from the patriarchy.
These were the women, and I speak with really strong conviction about this. The women who are publicly outward speaking to other women through blogs, through social media, talking about my life is so hard because of my kids. Oh, my kids are jerks. Oh, life is this. I have no money. Those messages are very, very pervasive, and they're very dangerous, and they're toxic
But
to
there are
women.
also real parts of motherhood. We just discussed how motherhood.
How many of you are mothers here?
I am not a mother, but
Okay, I am a mother of 12 years. And I know all of the very, very hard parts of motherhood. And I just wish, as someone who has actually, as the only person here who has gone through this motherhood experience, I, from the bottom of my heart, wish that the positive aspects of motherhood supersede all of the hard stuff.
And it's crazy because I have to point this out. It's wild that they were actually speaking over her and wouldn't even let her, you know, speak her piece. And this isn't me trying to be rude or anything, but I mean, it's pretty obvious to me, you know, she's the oldest woman in the room. And it's just crazy how she's being told to hush, to shut up, that she doesn't know what she's talking about, when she's the only person who's actually went through with giving birth to kids, you know?
Let's get back on prompt. Again, there's no wrong reason to get an abortion. Isabella,
I want
to hear from Isabella.
There's been so many points I want to talk
I was going
about.
to talk about Candace, maybe. Candace, what she says about.
I don't even know what she said.
Oh,
Just let her talk.
sorry.
So my parents actually had me when they were 19, and thank God they didn't abort me. They were not ready. They were in a terrible situation, and having me at 19 made them grow up and mature and become adults and not continue being on a bad path. So I'm thankful for that. And a lot of, something that you said it's society's, I think it was about society's pushing this idea, like demonizing motherhood, and you said that's part of the patriarchy. Well, I would ask you this, don't you think men benefit from women getting abortions because they no longer have to deal with it? They can just sleep around, and if, God forbid, a woman gets pregnant, oh, she wants to abort it. Cool, now I'm off the hook.
What?
Yeah, let's just be honest. The way that the system is set up right now, or the way that it was before they reversed, I believe it was Roe v. Wade, was women could pretty much play the baby lottery jackpot in a way. So if he's a baller, they can keep it. They got, you know, child support coming in, you know, they got them a government daddy. They'll be able to take care of the kid, have some excess funds to take care of that. They'll be living nice. However, if, you know, they get raw dogged and it's with a dude that they're not feeling, no finances from this one, get them out of here. And it's just rinse and repeat for a lot of these ladies.
What is the patriarchy?
I don't even know what that men oppress us and
That everything that goes wrong, that men are to blame. And I don't think that's a healthy way of being.
very happy to live under this so-called patriarchy.
This word patriarchy, it does not make any sense to me. Women are not oppressed in America.
Patriarchal society doesn't bother me. Like Marilyn Monroe says, as long as I can be all of a woman in it, I am not bothered.
The feminist
Quite the woman to look up to, Marilyn Monroe, huh?
movement is inherently racist.
The feminist movement does not benefit POC in any shape or form. It especially does not benefit Black women. And the darker your skin is, the more you are used. I call us, Black women, as the bullets for the feminist movement.
If we're talking historically, if we're talking how feminist movements started, it was an exclusionary movement.
Absolutely.
If we go back to the suffragettes or even further, Black women were not allowed to join in that effort because they really weren't fighting for Black women.
Until we were used as bullets.
Right.
If we're not being used, we can't be part of the movement.
They did use Black women. They used Black women's efforts because most of the most achievements that feminism, you're right, like most of the achievements of feminism have been done by Black women, and white women have stepped in and taken the credit.
Absolutely.
For like people who do identify as feminists, especially those of us who are white. I think the most important thing for us to do is to sit down, shut up, and listen to Black women.
As
That's how y'all want to move.
Who identifies as a feminist, my work centers Black women. So to say that, you know, of course, like white women were able to vote before Black women. Like the feminist movement was inherently racist, but how I live my life and the way that the community that I've built around myself of Black feminists, we see.
But why label it feminism?
Well,
Why not just
you can label it whatever you want, but
Black.
Because that's the cool slang of today. She needs to have something cool about her. So, you know, this is what she can put in her bio. this is something that she can work towards to, you know, give her life importance.
Helping other Black women.
I affirm you, and I
Don't
see
you
that the
think that's like-
semantics makes you uncomfortable because feminism was racist, but you
It
have
is
to,
still racist,
but you're not racist. So if you are not racist and you have issues that you want to be working towards for Black women, that doesn't mean that you're inherently being racist or helping white women. I think feminism exists on a spectrum.
We're talking about semantics. We're talking about
There's so many spectrums.
terms. They evolve and they change. Ideologies change. Right. And I think that feminism is evolving and changing. And I think it's because of the work of people like you. And so that's why I can confidently say.
Oh my God, just give it a break. Just run for governor already. I mean, these are just, you got to watch out for people like this. Okay, and I get it. She's saying everything right. She has it. And call me crazy, all right? But this is just the SIGs straight off of just vibes. You know, I'm going to get real woke, all right? Always watch out for people like this. It'll be the people who are like, oh, I don't even see color, and you guys are so amazing, I love you. They get home and they be the most racist.
Evolving. It's not evolving. I think it's devolving. You know, I think third wave feminism, I mean, by all accounts, I see, you know, again, have a very powerful Black mother, a very feminist Black mother. And I've seen, I would never forget this as she, you know, she's battling cancer. And I'm holding her hand in bed, and she's married to my dad, who's a very passive man. He's a professor, but very passive, and let her took the front. She waited for my dad to leave the room and said, maybe you can find a man to take care of you. And this is I'm sorry.
Damn.
My mom is like, she's like this thing that's bigger than life. She's so big, like untouchable, like, you know, like powerful, and no one could tell her. And just to see her weak, and her only regret now is that she never got to rest, and she never met a man to take care of her, even though my dad is.
Wow. You know, and look, what happened to her mother is very sad. What happened to her is sad as well, but you also have to say it's sad for the dad. To just pretty much just throw him to the wayside, and I'm pretty sure he's seen this. I mean, she basically just said that, you know, he's a weenie. And it's just like, damn, you know, imagine having someone give their whole entire life to a movement, barely give any attention to their husband because they're so focused on the movement, and then have their last words be something of, I hope you can find a better man than your father. I mean, can't make this shit up.
Incredible in his own way, but she never experienced what it feels like to be a woman. And I refuse to. I would rather die alone than
I'm gonna just go ahead and say it because, you know, this is out here for public consumption. I'm allowed to have my opinion. That's not your dad's fault that she never got to be a woman. That's not your dad's fault, especially since you've gotten older and you understand now that feminism really wasn't fighting for women in your position. You realize that feminism has morphed into something completely different. Your father, all he did was allow your mother to do what she thought would give her life purpose. That's on her. And it just shows you, when it was all said and done, who did she blame? The father. That's some deep stuff, man.
Experience a marriage like that. After 40 years of fighting and being a feminist, you know, and she is now at her end. I mean, no one wants to say they did life wrong, but she's saying, man, I wish I could have taken care of myself. I wish I could have done this. I love how you get your hair done and you go get makeup done and you're so, and she says it, you know, like she wasn't there in the household to raise us, like back to motherhood, because she was gone fighting every single day for women's rights to come home and be exhausted by the time she gets home. And we never got to have a mother, you know.
When I scroll my own social media feed, I rarely see a powerful woman highlighted who is not an ethnicity.
This is true. This is very true, all right? I'm not trying to get too woke, but you do see it. In a way, they are using, you know, colored women as pawns. You see it in video games. As I'm recording this, a video game Forspoken just came out, and of course the main character is a person of color, and they're running it through the ground because it's just all this weird, woke, edgy humor. I mean, look at Velma. It's just weird. And if anything, it's a mockery to, you know, people of color, because it just shows really what they think of y'all or what they think would appeal to y'all.
It's true.
They're using them as pawns. It feels
using
like.
them as pawns.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of big
1000%.
brands are now hopping on this, you know, modern feminism bandwagon, which I don't agree with what modern feminism is, but a lot of brands now, and I'll just say, you know, a big brand that comes to mind is Dove. Diversity is always a good thing. However, for years have not seen any kind of a ad campaign from the brand Dove speaking to women's empowerment that includes a woman that looks like us. What modern feminism today is lacking, I think, is genuine respect for diversity of opinion for all women.
If you felt modern day feminism didn't hijack all points of view of women, that you would still identify as a feminist?
Yes. Yes.
And that goes the same for just everything in total. Like, I thought that was like the beautiful thing about being diverse. You'll see that feminists are kind of fighting for, they kind of get lumped in with this whole like kind of liberal fight for inclusion, but they exclude everybody who doesn't agree with what they believe in. I mean, we're all adults here. Who cares what people do with their free time? But can we at least respect how someone chooses to speak about certain things? But instead, you know, you get canceled, you get demonetized, you know, you get you know, pretty much just blacklisted and as listed as someone who's uneducated and, you know, you guys know all the buzz terms. Toxic.
Well, I mean, the entire time everyone was talking, all I was thinking was, wow, I'm so sick of all these labels and all these different intersections. And these days there's more intersections than genders. And I'm just like, all these identity politics groups, we're just pitting each other against each other. Race keeps getting brought up. I know it was brought up in the prompt for this one, but in every single other one. And I don't even think about this. I don't even think that I'm not being represented even in ads. I don't care. It just does. I don't.
Yeah.
I am me.
I'm clearly I'm sure you don't care.
Yeah. The average person doesn't. The average person doesn't wake up and just think about all these different things because you just really don't see it in the average day, ordinary life that most people live. It's all the things that these people fight for, the instances, they can't even tell you what they're fighting for. I highly feel like these women aren't oppressed. I know these women aren't oppressed because they can't tell me one thing that they can't do that a man can do. They can't name one single thing. So yeah, it's not inappropriate for her to say that she doesn't care because as a woman, one thing she can say is all this mumbo jumbo y'all talking about, she don't see it.
You don't have to care. Thank you for letting me know that. You always know, feminists always know best for me. That's what I've noticed. It's a trend. But.
I mean, I'm just pointing.
Oh yeah. Shots fired. I mean, you want to be rude. This is what I'm saying. They're snowflakes. They'll be very rude. They have no problem cutting you off, telling you don't know anything. And then when you get right with them, they're over there looking like a bump on the log.
Pointing out that you are a privileged white woman who has not had to see the lack of diversity. When we step into a room filled with other white people, we don't notice that it's.
Oh my God. I'm getting so tired of seeing this. I'm seeing this every single time whenever I watch one of these debate videos. I'm so tired of seeing white people tell other white people that they don't know what they're talking about because of white privilege. What are you accomplishing by saying that? Like, what are you talking about? If that's the case, then you can't see it either.
Other white people. But when women of color have stepped into rooms and they see that it's just a bunch of other white people.
Also, intersectionality is not just about diversity, and it's certainly not about diversity in ad campaigns. It's about how poor women can't afford to drive to another state to get an abortion, but rich women can. It costs more money.
Okay, but can they afford to get condoms? Can they afford to not have their club shot up? Yes, they can. Because not getting your club shot up, actually, not having someone shoot up your club is free 99. Fun fact.
To drive to get an abortion than it would take to raise that kid?
Well,
Just saying.
but that's the thing, right? Like, if you don't have the money to drive to get an abortion, how are you going to have the money to raise that child? Why should you be forced into motherhood?
Reset.
Yeah, well,
Feminist.
And they always skip over the raw dog club shooting up part. That's what's funny to me. That it's wild.
don't appreciate all that men do for society.
I mean, I've got a lot to say about this. Feminists just demonize men. They hate men. All men are trash. They say they hate men while simultaneously trying to become men. They hate them for having power and the patriarchy, so they're trying to overtake it. But a lot of women will talk about rape culture. But guess what? Guess who's going to protect you from bad people? A man. Women are nurturers. We need men.
It's as simple as that. It's a God-given right for men to exist the way they were assigned to exist. We need men. It's very simple. We need men to procreate. We need men to provide. We need men to produce. We need men to go to war and die. We need men. It's so bad now that they're so scared of us. They're terrified all the time. I go on dates with men and they're like, am I allowed to open the door? Can I not open the door? Can I touch it? Can I pull the chair out? What can I do? And they're shaking, they're sweating. And you're just like, be yourself. It's okay. They're
Well, you might have a problem, miss, because that sounds like a weak male behavior. You have a problem. You're attracting weak men. Now, don't get me wrong. You do have to walk on eggshells in like the workplace and things of that nature, especially online, the internet. You never want to get falsely accused. I mean, look at Johnny Depp. A woman's word is bond nowadays. But scared to pay for the check, scared to open up the door and everything. Like, you must be talking to some real weenies.
They're so afraid of doing anything wrong. So much so they're now the most lonely demographic in the world, right? Like the straight white men, I heard, are now the most lonely because they just creating incels, you know. They don't want to leave their apartment or their house because they're so afraid of women.
I'm not on board with this trend.
Hey, I blame the Steam adult games, man. They're don't get me started.
Especially happening in schools right now, there is a trend where they are raising up the girls. Girl power, girl boss, girl this, run like a girl in the best way
You're gonna
possible.
make me vomit.
That's now it's dangerous. It is dangerous because yes, we want to uplift our women. That's the right thing to do so that men and women do maintain equality. But at the same time, by raising the girls, we are forgetting about our boys.
Yeah, they want to solve inequality by enforcing more inequality. And if women were equal to men, then why do the girls need to be raised up so much?
Let's just keep it a buck. They're trying to make the little girls move like little boys. I mean, that's just what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn the little girls into little boys and the little boys into little girls. They want to make the men feminine and the women masculine. Simple.
Why? The only men that feminists like are men dressing as women and dominating their sports and just really reversing what the other waves of feminism fought to do. Have fun with men beating you in your sports, women, because guess what?
And it's crazy that she says that because that's something that I realized a long time ago. And it's funny because the way that feminists will work is they'll find men who wear dresses or who paint their nails, who cry, who show their emotions, and they'll try to like prop them up like, oh, look at my little pet friend here. He cries to me all the time. He's such a real man. And then you'll be like, oh, he sounds like a cool dude. Why don't you date him? And they're just like, oh, yeah. Oh, it's like, yeah, because he's a weenie.
Men, because guess what? You're not going to beat them. Have fun. I've never even felt unequal, so I don't even know what the problem is. I feel like a lot of people just want to have a reason to be upset and outraged. I also just don't identify with all these identity politics groups. I think they're being pit against each other, separating all these different people by race, class, gender, everything, sexual orientation, and I look at people as individuals.
All right.
Yeah, they're serving Kool-Aid. They're serving Kool-Aid, and it's funny because the feminists, the liberals, they're lapping it up. They're lapping it up, and they're getting offended over just anything. You know, they wake up and they breathe air and they get offended.
Step forward.
There's a difference between not appreciating men and pointing out the inequities that have been systemically put in place to favor men, especially white men, white straight men. There's a difference between
Okay, Bob's Burgers.
hating men and pointing out that there are inequities.
I want to talk about this concept of protection. We're talking about good men who are protectors. Who are they protecting us from?
Bad men.
Bad men, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Or bad
so-
women, bad anybody.
I could drive a car and
it was a rhetorical. I guess.
No,
in some ways
I
a
understand the point you were trying to
rhetorical
make. That
Yeah, exactly. We all know the point that you're trying to make because now you're going to sit here and say, well, why isn't there just any more bad men? And then we'll go and reach and grab and hand over the smoothest brain of 2023 female edition award.
That's why I said what
but
you
I'm
wanted
going
me
to
to say.
finish. So then who benefits from men's bad behavior? Good men as well, right? They get
Nobody, but no, they don't. No, they don't. They get demonized for it. They get demonized for it. And it's funny because the weenie boys that you prop up, the you guys, you know, from the Netflix series You, the weenie boys that you prop up, those be the ones that do you in. Because you didn't kept them in the friend zone for 3 years. But y'all don't want to hear about that.
to be positioned as the good guys.
Good apples.
They're the good apples. And that is predicated on the bad behavior of men.
No, they benefit from being a good person and protecting women. Who cares? It's not a. We should not be praising people based off comparing them to bad people.
But I don't benefit from being a good girl. I don't get
You're
to-
a good feminist, right? I'm sure people.
Please, I beg to differ. Yeah, you do. Because if you're a good girl, if you're a good woman, then you have high value. And then you can choose to get any man that you want. But then again, men are your enemy. You're a feminist, and you lose a lot of points for that alone. So, I mean, you're not a good girl, so you wouldn't understand.
People love what you have to say as a feminist. Other feminists agree with it and are like, yes, go girl
There
boss.
are
They
good
do.
people on earth and bad people on earth. We're always going to have that. That would never change. It's in every animal kingdom. So we need the good man to protect us from the bad man.
To go off of what you said,
Simple.
because you said when women are sexually assaulted, they turn to another man to protect them. I work as a sexual assault and domestic violence counselor. I work with rape victims every single day. They don't turn to men to protect them. They don't.
I didn't say they turn to them. I was saying
No,
like
that
they
I'm-
potentially can.
But I hate to say it, but that's another thing that's been kind of twisted, because what we consider, you know, that word, that R word, what we consider that has now changed. You know, you can have sex with a woman and she can regret it, and she could say that you did X, Y, and Z. Shoot, you can look at a woman the wrong way and it can be considered SA. You know, so even that in itself has changed to the point where if you're a guy and you say, okay, well, what happened? What was going on? They'll look at you like you're crazy. Like, what do you mean? Believe all women. So even that is being falsely purported. Even there's a false narrative out on that works against men. So that point is ignorant to bring up in itself.
And if you're walking home alone at night, and
I
you're
don't
afraid,
turn to another man. I don't. I turn to other women.
Yeah.
This is why it's hard to have conversations with people like this. This is why usually there's not a lot of conversation. There's arguments, there's a lot of name calling, which I don't agree with, but this is why this happens, because how can you argue with somebody who won't admit when they're wrong? You're that proud, you're that stubborn in your movement that you won't even admit that if you're walking out at night and you feel like you're in danger, that you would like to have a man protect you. You're too far gone. Like, you're all the way in La La Land. Left is right, right is left, up is down. Everything's just in reverse for you, you know, and you've drinking the Kool-Aid and you like the Kool-Aid and you just keep on sipping on it.
Like, I love a man that knows his place. Build the house. Yeah, repair that. Because I'm a goddess. Like, if you
What I tell you, see, this is how feminism has affected every community. And this is how it is being represented right here. I'm a goddess. I'm a queen. I like a man that knows his place. Who wants to go build this woman a house after the way that she's talking and carrying herself? I mean, this is just wild.
You need to hold your weight in the relationship. Like, I appreciate men. I love men. Like, you know, just like
Who believes
you said,
that, though?
You have a husband. You want to cook for your husband. You make sure that he's good. Men have roles in society as well. Feminist is anything you want it to be. As a woman, I am promiscuous because I'm a feminist, but you can also be conservative because I'm a feminist. Modern day feminism is about you and what you make it, and not what someone 60 years ago said it was. But I don't praise men because they aren't raping. Like, you know, that's...
I agree with everything you just said.
You're agreeing with us.
I agree with you fully.
The same exact thing. Like,
yeah,
that's
but I
actually the
disagree with
movement.
the prompt.
Okay, so these are like the intellectual conversations and talking points. These are the PowerPoints, the presentations that they show at the feminist meetings. We are not going to congratulate men for not R-wording. Like, no shit, who's asking you to do that?
Because I do appreciate men. I don't think that feminists don't appreciate men. I think that's.
And you've already stated that you like men who know your place. Okay, build a house, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you like men who benefit you. That's what it is.
Not true.
Like, the person who taught me to be the feminist that I am was my father. Yeah. My father did not raise me to believe that I was less than.
He did a terrible job.
raise me to understand that I am societally disadvantaged, but he told me that I
Your father put you at a societal disadvantage by instilling these beliefs.
was going to rise above that.
In my household, my mom was so strong that my dad became so emasculated that he cannot do anything. He stopped working. He became just like a couch potato, right? While she just went out there and kill it. And we are destroying family, as we know, because look.
And I gotta pause again. I know I'm pausing a lot, but literally, of course, I gotta call out the fact that it speaks volumes about her father that he allowed himself to be emasculated. Now, don't get me wrong, things can happen, but the fact that he allowed himself to become a couch potato, I think that just shows that he kind of gave up. But just imagine that effect that had on her. This contributed to her growing up to become a raging feminist, because she saw her father. And you know what, I hate to say it, this plays into daddy issues. She saw her father be emasculated like that, so that's how she did other men. And you notice how she's the woman who talks about how when she goes on dates, she runs into guys who are too scared to do anything. Yeah, because you're a very strong woman. Unfortunately, you were raised to be that way. And men smell that, and they won't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
Look at me, I'm in my 30s. I'm not settled down. I don't have children. I don't have this family unit that I want so terribly, because no matter how hard I try, that feminism that I was raised with always tend to overshadow my relationship, because in my head, I know best, right? Like, I know what's right. I know, because I saw it growing up. I saw it modeled to me growing up. Like, a woman knows everything. We're so powerful.
But the
We're so
idea
strong.
that men are supposed to be the head
Yep, and that ended you up right where you are right now, single as hell, talking to weenie boys.
of the household, do you understand that that is killing men?
That's killing men.
It is killing men.
Well, let them
at an
die, because
alarming
they need to go back to working.
The pressure of it, you mean, right? The pressure?
The pressure of it is destroying their mental health. That's why men are 6 times more likely to commit suicide than women are, especially men in committed relationships. Men in their 40s that are married with families are the highest risk for suicide.
But it's killing men because we have generations and generations of boys who were not raised to be men and rise to that occasion.
It's killing men
Amen.
because we are not in a position capitalistic.
It's killing men because they don't have the mental fortitude. Because any men with mental fortitude who practice stoicism, who are, men that stick to themselves, that know how to handle problems without being emotional, sharing their feelings and whatnot, they're demonized and they're seen as toxic. Y'all don't want to talk about that. You guys are a part of the problem.
Realistically, where we can have men be the one single head of the household, the bread earner, the decision maker. We are no longer in the 1950s. Our economy is not able to handle that kind of nuclear family with the man being the head of the household, the stay-at-home moms and the 2.5 children.
I want to clarify, I'm not a...
We'll tell that to the average woman, because we know that women are hypergamous. Women like to date up. They either like to date equal or date up. So tell that to the average woman. Tell that to most women in general, and they'll look at you like you're crazy. What female do you know that walks around willing to sign up and be the breadwinner? It just doesn't happen. You're delusional.
Stay-at-home mom.
No,
I do work,
I
and so
understand.
I do have perspective. When you are in a long-term marriage or relationship with a partner of anyone, yes, you're going to have disagreements, but you also have to understand that each person in that partnership does have roles, because that is how a healthy family functions.
Feminism that doesn't include trans women isn't feminism.
You surprised to see me here?
No.
Okay, good.
It's really important to include trans women and trans people and gender nonconforming people, which, by the way, I am gender queer myself. I don't actually
Hooray! Good for
as a
you.
woman. It's really important that those of us who do have privileges speak up for trans women in the community, especially because they're the most at risk for hate crimes.
I also want to just level set and say that we are having this conversation without trans women. Right? We are sitting here today having
Do we
that
know that?
conversation without
For sure?
trans women.
Oh my God, are you guys gonna vote for her? Is she on campaign? I mean, she's got the whole blazer thing going on. Like, is she running for governor or something? Like you can't even have a real conversation anymore. It's almost like, and I get this is ironic, but it's almost like people are moving like there's always cameras watching them. And I know there's cameras watching them, but this is supposed to be an honest, heart-to-heart conversation. Like this is supposed to be a conversation that we have without any type of judgment. And you're just over here like you have some type of political agenda that you want to promote, which ironically is a feminist. Feminism, I guess that is the agenda you're trying to promote.
I identify as
She's on a
trans.
she identifies as non-binary, and she's on a feminist panel.
My pronouns.
So maybe she doesn't belong here either. They don't belong here.
Plot twist, I am biologically female and I'll never deny that. I lived as a woman for most of my life. I am 31. I only came out a couple of years ago. I spent a lot of time, the majority of my life in these spaces with women. That does give me a kind of unique perspective now being a trans non-binary person.
Is it really that unique anymore though? I mean, I might be saying something like crazy, but it's like I see this all the time, especially a few years ago when I was like, 18, 19, all the time I was seeing they, them. Like literally when you log into IG or when you create Instagram, there's a slot now for your pronouns. Is it really that different for you to say I'm non-binary or whatever? Like we hear it all the time. It's really not that unique. I'm just going to say it.
There's an issue with categorizing womanhood as a means of female. Earlier, it was mentioned by somebody on the anti-trans side about trans women coming in and taking over sports and things like that, which is just not true.
That is true.
It's not.
It is.
It's not true in the news outlets that you watch that spew out propaganda, your little echo chamber. Yeah, it's not true there, but in reality, outside of La La Land, it's very true. We see it all the time.
I can show you a number of cases. There might be people that also haven't.
No, I can show you a number.
Trans women retain 30% of their biological advantage.
That is not
if
true.
they went through male puberty. Yes, it is.
That is
yes, it is.
That is not.
I told you, she's watched her Matt Walsh. Man, we've all seen the What Is a Woman. It's been documented. We've all seen it. We see through y'all.
Argue it. That's not even the prompt. So we're not going to argue about that.
Because you're wrong.
Yeah, we're not going to argue about it. No, because we.
Trans woman, and you walk out in the world and you are seen as a man. You do not belong in women's spaces. I don't care what anybody says. I think that's ridiculous, and I think even trans women that have gender dysphoria that go through transition will agree with me.
This makes me so incredibly uncomfortable that we're even having this conversation.
You could go back over there if you really want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you snowflake. I'm so sorry that you're having a conversation, and it's like, oh my God, this is what I'm talking about. And this is why freedom of speech, this is why everybody's getting banned, deplatformed. Because conversation about anything, even when you're at a place to have a conversation about said thing, this is what the prompt is. If you didn't want to speak about it, then sit out. Or better yet, just don't show up at all. Like, that's not how life works. You don't just get to shut down life when you get uncomfortable and say, hey, change the topic. Have y'all ever been around a woman like that? Where she'll be like, I don't want to talk about this next. And you're just like, okay, well, me and him or me and her, whoever you're talking to, we were having a conversation. You can walk away. I've had stuff like this happen to me numerous of times. Like, this is a real thing. Like, you are living on planet Earth. There are people who don't have the same opinion. There's a saying, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Do you actually think that when you hear an opinion that you don't agree with, that the other person has to just quit talking? You want to talk about privilege? What a privileged way for you to live your life.
Ooh. If we took all of that off the table, right? If we're not talking about who can play sports with whom, can people exist as who they are?
Absolutely.
It sounded like you were saying if a trans woman doesn't look like what you perceive as looking like a woman, they shouldn't be in feminist spaces.
I didn't say that. I said they shouldn't be in female spaces.
Okay.
Not feminist.
Okay, well, better yet, we'll just cut through all of this nonsense because I hear this a lot as well. All right? How about this? Let me make this very crystal clear because I think a lot of men will agree with me. Okay? You could look like a model, hypothetically. You could be a 10, waist snatch, everything. Nice long hair, everything. If you were born biologically a male, you should not be competing with females. Biological men should not compete with females. The way you look has nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it at all. What matters is the packaging, the chromosomes, the genetics, the biology of it all. Because there are truly women who are missing out on scholarships and opportunities because they don't stand a chance competing against these biological men. And if you want to act like that doesn't happen or whatever, okay, cool. Then just put on the delusional hat, Bob Burgers, and sit down.
Spaces.
Okay.
I think women.
I disagree with that, but
that's
okay.
fine. It makes sense to biologically classify people. It also makes sense to socially classify people. Let's say my friend Blair White was sitting right here. It's my buddy. I love her. She's sitting right here. Do I think she lives her life as a man? No. Like we were talking about men making decisions for women as far as abortions are concerned. That's something she'll never experience.
There are women who biologically cannot produce. There are females, people assigned female at birth, who biologically cannot produce. Are you saying that those female women should not be able to have say?
No, we're saying the people who are born with male packagery should not be able to compete with females. Oh my God, this conversation is so exhausting because it's so repetitive, it's so played out. Like we've already seen the signs, we've already seen the math. Like, come on, man. This is outdated. This is so 2022.
In those laws,
that's not what I'm saying at all. I guess my main issue with trans women being seen as women and not being seen as trans women is they're changing the definition of women and expecting everybody to go along with that. And that affects me, yes they are, and that affects me directly. You say trans women are women are trans women. It's a very different experience.
Trans women are women.
We're just gonna agree to disagree with that. If you ask feminists at a women's march what a woman is, they can't even define it. How can you protect something and
Matt
empower
Walsh.
something that you
Yeah, she's been Matt Walsh.
definition of?
Well, I will say JK.
I like to call that the Matt Walsh effect. You watch that documentary and you're just like, what is a woman? What is a woman? Like it has that effect on you.
Rowling calls herself a feminist and was canceled for not being pro-trans, which is kind of overtaking and reversing some of the work feminists have done in the past.
She's a billionaire.
Well, they criticize.
And it's funny how you guys say that. She's literally one of the most successful women when it comes to selling books, and you guys want to cancel her. So you guys want to get rid of someone who represents women as far as, you know, writing books, being an author or whatever. But you guys want to cancel her because she doesn't have the same opinion as y'all. This is what I'm talking about with the snowflake mentality.
Fine.
She's fine. Her billionaire feelings are hurt. I'm so saddened for her.
Feminist movement.
And I really want to capitalize on this because it's starting to get all over the place. They've been sitting there starting to get catty and whatnot. They're starting to, you know, get catty. But literally, you see how they can be condescending? They can say, oh, poor billionaire. So would I be in the wrong if I said, oh, poor you, poor guy who sees himself as a woman, poor you? Oh, I'd be canceled. Essentially, what I'm saying is they can speak however they want. It's fair game. They can be disrespectful. They can be rude. You know, they can be condescending. But if you mess up, if you say the wrong thing, you'll be out of there. You'll be deplatformed. You'll be canceled.
It does not allow anyone to have any other opinions but what you guys
But what
think
does
is
that
correct.
mean, though? Because she's allowed to have that opinion, and she still makes a bunch of money.
Yes, she does.
What do trans women take away from women in the feminist movement?
The definition of words and what that means and how that affects us directly.
Can you expand on that?
Yes, when you change the word woman, legally it has implications. Sexually it has implications.
But the word woman
directly
has changed throughout histories, throughout different cultures. Indigenous people have had different genders, different ways of looking at gender. The Torah specifically has 8 different genders, and we have recognized that for over 3,000 years. You're denying anybody's culture that does not agree with your perception and your worldview because you hold so highly onto your identity and you see it as an attack on who you are.
So do you all of
on sexual orientation.
So do feminists as a
but
whole,
it's nothing to do with sexual
It has exactly to do with sex. When you change the word woman and a lesbian is a woman that is attracted to women, how is that not directly affecting us?
What defines a woman is being born with biological women's parts, and that is what a woman is. And trans women are individuals who choose to live their lives as women, and I honor that, and everyone deserves dignity and respect, and I mean that. But at the same time, there are universal truths, and we have, as a society, gotten to this confusing tangled place where there's your truth, your truth, your truth, your truth. There is one objective truth in what we are.
Can you explain to me the women in Guatemala who are born female, who are assigned female at birth, and then during puberty grow penises?
I can't. And explain it because
That
I don't
sounds
know
like more
anything
that
about
sounds like an
that.
intersex condition.
You try to, again, but how feminists always try to tell us how we should live our life. I said I was a raging feminist. She goes, I don't believe that.
I don't see that.
I don't.
I mean, what you've been saying, I can't see any traces of feminism in
My
what you're
mother
saying.
is little.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, I can see it all the way from here. Oh, definitely. Definitely. Definitely.
We
The
heard a lot about your
poster
mom, but
of
what about
feminist-
you?
I am
Oh.
a woman looking at.
Whoa, and you see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by the cattiness. That's what I mean by being petty. She's given her, this emotional testimony, which some people will say isn't really, shouldn't really be allowed when you're trying to make a point because you're trying to, sway people with emotions. I can understand that, but still, she shared that emotional part of herself. She shared that emotional story about what happened to her mother. And for you just to say, we heard a lot about your mother, pretty much saying, we're tired of hearing about your mother. I mean, these are the snowflakes, but they want you to accept everything. They want you to listen to their stories. They want you to agree with what they agree with. But the only difference is the stuff that they agree with is nonsense.
Me, I am a woman, born and raised a woman. Why are we trying to write women, born biological women? Why are you trying to write us out of history?
You guys keep saying that there's biological reality of male and female. Scientists do not agree with you.
Scientists that you choose to agree with. I mean, you can find a study and a scientist to back up anything you want to prove
Well,
these days.
I choose to do peer-reviewed studies and not ones that are backed by political agenda. And I'm sorry that my peer-reviewed studies.
Everything you've represented is backed by a political agenda. We all know what political agenda it's backed by. So that whole nonsense, it's like, get out of here, man.
Tend to agree with the fact that trans women are women and that biology, it does not exist in a binary. Never has and it never will.
I secretly crave men's approval.
Yeah. Men's approval has kept me safe in so many ways. Being desirable, being fuckable has kept me safe many a time. And it's no secret. I guess that's where I disagree. It's no secret that sometimes men's approval is what stands between me and safety.
I firmly believe.
Oh my God. It's just so crazy how she wants to say approval. No, it's deeper than approval. I truly feel that men biologically just have that nature that they want to protect. Real men, anyway. The other day, I was on Twitter. Fantastic place to be at, right? And I seen a video of pretty much a pedophile who was flashing himself to a kid. And when I tell you, everybody on that bus beat him up. I even seen someone hit him over the back of the head with a skateboard. They didn't do that because they were attracted to the younger kid. They did that because there was a woman who was in danger. There was a sicko on the bus, and they realized that as men, it is their role in society to stand up. Because if the roles were reversed, if it was one of their loved ones and a man was doing something like that, they would want the men to step in and do the same. That's how men move. That's how men act. We pass that action forward. That's why we step up and intervene in situations like that. Because if we weren't around and one of our women loved ones were there, we would hope that a man would have the courage to do the same. This just shows that these women don't even understand how men move. You think that men do that because you're attractive. I mean, newsflash. What did KS say? Ma'am, you're average at best.
That the reason why I waited so long to come out with my transness is because I was afraid of losing male approval. It is so embedded into our society. I really pushed myself to present.
So does that mean that she still likes men, that she still dates men? That's what I'm saying. I'm at a loss for words, but I'm happy for her. I truly am.
And in a way that wasn't authentic to me for men.
Yeah.
I'm trying to unlearn this like very actively and trying to fight for nobody's approval but myself. Like, because it's not even that I should have men's approval or I should need men's approval or women's approval. I should need my own approval.
Yeah, and I think, this prompt I think might be surprising for some folks to see us sitting here.
Yeah.
Because we're like so feminist,
Sure.
but like,
But it's a reminder that this work doesn't happen in a vacuum. And that because I am implicated in what is happening, right? In the issues, I am implicated in the issues. That's why I do the work. Yeah. Because I am impacted by them.
I've never thought of a moment where I thought to myself, oh, I wish that man would find me sexy because I feel so empowered in myself. I always dress like this from head to toe, covered usually from head to toe, and never
I don't think I've ever experienced a moment, perhaps subconsciously, but I don't think I've ever. And, you know, I think that's also why, you know, with my platform now that I switched from a raging feminist to a femininity, which I was, and you can't tell me what I was and who I was. I had the shaved head, the armpit hair, all of it.
Did you really?
Yes.
Oh my God. Yeah. So she really drank that Kool-Aid. And put it like this, all that doesn't just disappear. All that it lingers. That's why you got men over here. Oh, hey there, weenie boys.
And when I went from that to that, now I teach women how to like dress modern and cover up and be feminine and soft and all of that.
Who are you dressing modern and modest for?
For myself, because it empowers me. I am Nigerian first and foremost, and because of that, in our culture, we've always been very modest. We didn't even have a word for it. It's just that's how women dress. We layer on top of layers on top of layers. And I remember when I first, you know, became a feminist and like moved into, and I would show skin, I always felt so uncomfortable.
Why did you feel uncomfortable with showing your skin? I'm not saying that.
Because she had half her ass hanging out. And a whole bunch of dudes were looking like, damn, look, half of her ass is hanging out.
That's wrong. I'm just asking out of curiosity why you felt uncomfortable, like what the root of that discomfort was.
Because it's not who I am.
But I also think we'd be denying reality if we said when we put clothes on the morning, we didn't think about the way that we would navigate the world in them.
If you enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll also leave the link to the full video in the descriptions below so you can check out the rest if you want to hear the rest of that nonsense. It's been your boy Siggs and Serial. Peace.